So for the modulation options, really quickly, we've already done an entire segment on the arbitrary waveform generation. This one just happens to be a 10 megahertz linear frequency modulation, but we're going to actually do that with the LFM function. We showed you a more complex one with an amplitude taper before. The linear frequency modulation, or chirp, is very simple. One control is at the beginning of the pulse, what frequency offset relative to the normal pulse CW center do you want it to start at, and at what rate do you want it to chirp. And even though this particular one is always starting below the center frequency and going up, you could also start above the center frequency and go down to do a down chirp. There's a couple different rates here. For instance, this guy is starting at 25 megahertz below the center frequency and chirping at 1 megahertz per microsecond. There's another one here that's also starting at 25 meg below, but he's also chirping a much higher rate at 5 megahertz per microsecond. And this one is a pseudo pulse CW because he has no chirp rate associated with it, but he has a frequency offset. For phase shift keying, all we're doing right here is we're telling you of all the different phase shifts we want, what are the values going to be from 0. So this one is just going to be a very simple 0-180 binary phase shift keying one we're going to show you today. The other modulation we're going to show you today is the frequency shift keying. And what this one really is going to be is it's going to be pulse CW, but at what frequency off the center do you want it to appear at? So for this simple one, we're going to do minus 5 megahertz, plus 5 megahertz, minus 10 megahertz, and plus 10 megahertz. And we also have quadrature amplitude modulations, but I didn't define those, and I'm not going to right now.